simple rice pudding, delicious, shut the front door, tasty. What we have here is I've got 2 cups of heavy cream and 4 cups of whole milk. And to that I'm going to add cinnamon stick, a teaspoon of nutmeg, fresh ground, and a half a teaspoon of salt. I'm going to start that on high. I'm also going to add 3/4 of a cup of sugar, 3/4 of a cup of jasmine rice. And this is going to get up to a light simmer, and then we're going to cut it down to way low. Let that just simmer for 35 to 40 minutes. Every 4 or 5 minutes, come over here, give it a good mix. You want to put raisins in this. At this point right now, in a small pot, you would put half a cup of gold or dark raisins in some brandy or some sweet wine like Marsala, Madeira, sherry. And you would poach those raisins until they reconstituted, plumped up nice. And then you'd turn the heat off and let the raisins sit in there. And at the end, then you fold those in. You don't want to mix really hard because those raisins will break up and it'll discolor your rice pudding and they won't be whole. So, just gently fold those in when you're done because the rice pudding will be thin enough to do that. Once it's cold, it'll set up. Normally, rice pudding is made with mostly milk and maybe a little half and half, but I like mine more like a pudding. I like it creamy. I like a little bit of egg, and the butter helps richen it up as well. Okay, our rice pudding, you can see it's come to a boil, so we're going to turn this way down low now. See how this is a low little simmer here? I'm going to move it over to this little burner. That's what we're looking for. Like every 4 or 5 minutes, give this a stir for 30, 35 minutes, tops 40. Okay. We got our butter, we got our vanilla, and we got our eggs. This is what we're going to finish our rice pudding with when we're done. All right, so we've been cooking this about 15, maybe 17 minutes. It's still at a low simmer. I come over here every 4 or 5 minutes and give it a mix. If you forget about it for 10 minutes, don't worry, you won't burn it as long as you have it on a low simmer. You want this rice to cook slowly. And it's going to be a lot thinner than you expect it, but once we add the eggs and the butter and that cools off, and you put it in a heavy bottom casserole dish, a glass one is nice. I've got this enameled one. You'll cover it with saran wrap and you'll let it sit in the refrigerator overnight, and the next day it'll be a thick, delicious pudding. Rice pudding that you'll always make. It's my favorite comfort food. Nothing like a good bowl of rice pudding, potato salad. I like that simple, savory food. So I'm going to show you how to make it all. I make a killer potato salad, by the way. So anyways, we let this rice simmer slowly. We'll taste a grain of rice. I'll tell you what to look for. Then we'll finish it with the vanilla, the egg, the butter. Pour it in our pan, and tomorrow we'll take it out and we'll take a look at it. So this gets like the consistency of thin pancake batter. And you take a grain of rice, and it's got to be soft. There can't be any crunch. That's perfect. So I turn the rice pudding off because the rice is cooked. I'll add my half a tablespoon of vanilla to the eggs. I'll mix that up. I'll grab myself a ladle, and I'll take some of this dairy out and mix that into my eggs. What I'm doing there is I'm tempering them, which means I'm warming up the eggs so when I add it to the finished rice pudding, the eggs don't scramble. Well, as I'm mixing the rice pudding, I add this egg mixture all at once and stir that in quickly. And you can see already how the rice is now starting to float in there as opposed to sinking to the bottom. Now, I like to leave the cinnamon stick in there. Because now we add our butter at the end. Once that egg is done what it's done, we mix that in until it's melted. It doesn't have to be ice cold. I cut it up when I just started the whole recipe, so it's been sitting out for about 40 minutes. So, if it's soft, it'll melt quicker for you. It's just so velvety. That's vanilla pudding consistency right there. Okay, to our pan with the cinnamon stick in there. And as you can see at the bottom of the pan there, no browning, no sticking. Plastic on top of that. We stick that in the refrigerator, and tomorrow we'll give it a good stir and it'll be ready to serve. You could even serve it at the table like this cold the next day and just sprinkle a little bit of my pumpkin spice or a little bit of nutmeg. And, you can do little rosettes of whipped cream, or you can do, sprinkle some raspberries or even your raisins. At this point, you could just sprinkle on top too. But simple rice pudding, easy to make. 40 minutes, it's done. Something you can do and walk away from the stove and come back and make. So try this one. It's really yummy.